So, this is part 2 of us uncovering the mysteries within this really old MakerBot 2 Duo, whatever it is, from 2012, a relic of a bygone era of 3D printing, sort of. And the things that we find just keep getting weirder. So here's the motherboard that is running everything here. You can see the stepper drivers. See a bunch of wires and everything. Don't know what R1 or maybe R1, Y1, R2, Y2. Not entirely sure what that indicates, but if we go over here, we can see, let's see, fan, check, extruder, not check. So I'm assuming this is the left extruder setup. Heats for the bed. Build plate? BP? Build plate? Fan for something else? Where's this wire going to? There's a fan right there. Maybe it's going there, but anywho, let's keep going. Heats. I think that's... Is that a thermistor? Fan? No, heat might be a heat cartridge. So then maybe these are the thermistors. But speaking of thermistors, we'll get to that in a minute. But while we're under here, this NEMA 17 is the type that the the lead screw goes directly into. It's supposed to help with things like Z-wobble by mitigating the need to use a coupler to hold a Z-rod onto the shaft of the stepper motor, but it still has got a lot of wobble. But let's talk about that thermistor, because we're getting to the hot end. So these hot ends are mirrored, and if you look on the left, the thermistor, or I think that's the thermistor because the retaining bolt was holding it on, looks like it's just held in with pressure, and it's got Kapton tape around it. Not entirely sure why, but there was also no nozzle on the block, and we just found a Mark 8 nozzle. We got it laying around, and sure enough, it screws in there, and there's the heater cartridge right there. So I'm pretty sure any old Mark 8 block is going to work on this, given the fact that the threads are the same. And we've got a Mark 8 block laying around. We got plenty of these old brass nozzles that I don't even use on my systems anymore. I use just completely different metals now. We can put a bolt-type thermistor. We've got those. But I don't know what type of thermistor these are. If we're lucky, maybe they'll be B3950 100K type thermistors, and we won't have to reconfigure anything, but that's kind of wishful thinking at this point. This gantry looks like it's held on only by clamping force around these linear bearings, so I'm pretty sure these just like can pop the entire assembly just off, but I don't want to risk anything right now. Especially when all these components are apparently proprietary, and wow, there's rust on these rods too, which I didn't see before. We have them lubed up with super lube and all that, but we've also got some fans that don't spin despite the fact that they've got power connected to them. One of the fans is completely broken. The one that we really need to work doesn't spin at all. They're 24-volt fans. They draw less than 1 amp. And these are just, I think, 40mm fans, so nothing really special about that. That can be replaced pretty easily. So, speaking of replacement parts, Mike, why don't we talk about replacement parts one more time? So, walk me through the different components you found in case anything breaks on this wonderfully wooden machinery.
First things first, a newer version of this board, since we can't get an original, but it looks exactly the same, is $188.
And what kind of board is it? It's a Mighty board?
Mighty board, yeah.
So it's a Mighty board. Maybe that's a Mighty board too, a really old one. No idea. So why don't we keep going with this list?
This extruder that looks like it. $399 without shipping.
What does it look like here?
Oh no, free shipping with $36 of tax.
So can you show me on the phone like what you're looking at there, so we can kind of go back and forth real quick here, because. Okay. Yeah, that does look kind of like it.
And that's not even coming with the blocks.
So these are just NEMA 17 stepper motors. I don't know why they would be so expensive, and it's not like these are gear reduced, so they're simple setups.
And it's looking like the blocks, it bolts to it, and that's like another.
Oh wait! Did you say the blocks bolt to the?
Look.
Hold on. Like, bring the picture up and like actually show me. Because are you telling me these don't screw together? That's definitely a little weird. That's not a Mark 8 block. That is not a Mark 8
This
block.
is a retrofit kit.
Okay, it's a retrofit kit. So dual Flexion retrofit kit. So that's not quite stock.
$249.
So that's not stock. So why don't we talk about
stock?
Let's talk about that. You can't find stock components for this anymore.
Power block, $56.
Okay, that's not unreasonable, all things considered.
The plastic kit for it.
So the plastic kit includes what? This injection molded brace for the y-axis.
X-axis slide, y-axis left wing.
Okay, so these
heat bed support.
Okay, so all of those
for 45.
For 45. Okay, for injection molded plastic, and that's a decent bit. That's not too terrible. But that does confirm one thing for me, that these intentionally do just snap over these bearings right here. So we should be able to just kind of that off the entire system there, which will give us better access. Now, I can't imagine that the heat breaks on these things are like physically welded to anything. These blocks have to be removable.
Mark 8, dual extruder.
Okay. Well, we already know that this is Mark 8 because we put just a generic nozzle on here, and it fit the Mark 8 threads.
I found it.
You found it? Latest? Okay, but is that like...
Dual head Mark 8 extruder, 0.35 millimeter nozzle, MakerBot.
Okay, it says specifically MakerBot on it.
Yes.
Okay. So, a lot of these components are to the point where you would be better off just taking that money and buying an Ender 3 Pro instead of fixing this. But we're going to see what we can do with spare parts.
The frame is also another like $50
for some laser cut wood. But what we're going to try and do is spare parts we have laying around, we're going to try and fit on this machine to fix it. One thought we had was just scrapping that board entirely and using an old Melzi board from our stock days of using Ender 3s. We use TH3D Easy Board lights in our machines now, so we've got two of these with, we can just customize Marlin on here to our heart's content to try and make it work. No guarantee that we can. There's a lot of problems, with that thought process. Mainly things like the connections are definitely different. So we'd have to do some soldering.
Another thing we won't be able to do with that motherboard is use the stock screen or button.
And we will lose dual extrusion because this board doesn't support dual extruders. But one of them never worked anyway.
Not like we have what we need to work the dual extruder in the first place.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, we can wire it up. It's just the thermistor, the heater cartridge is there.
We don't know what the connection is on the back, though.
Well, we're going to find out in another video because this video is already 10 minutes long.